Welcome to the Department Chair Leadership Podcast, where the goal is to improve organizations and serve students one leader at a time. I'm your host, Dr. Chris Yoakum. If you're a department chair in higher education or any type of educational leader, and you want to improve yourself to better serve and influence those you lead, you've come to the right place. Because the best way to improve an organization is to improve its leader. Let's get started. Hey friends, welcome to the Department Chair Leadership Podcast. This is episode 1, season 1, so you can assume that this is the inaugural podcast. Really appreciate you joining in. I'm glad you found this, however you came across it, and just going to encourage you all to share this, like this, comment, just really appreciative that you're here. Hey, my name's Chris Yoakum, and I'm currently a department chair. Been a department chair for a number of years, and this has been a goal of mine for quite some time. I've been influenced as a leader through listening to other people's podcasts, reading books, both that relate to higher education and beyond, and I really know firsthand that there's some value in not only learning from others, but that there's truly a need for specifically department chairs in higher education to have a place where we can come together and we can learn, we can grow. And so while I do have an initial vision for the future of this podcast, which does include bringing on guests and learning from people both inside education and beyond, I also hope that this grows somewhat organically. While you can learn more about me by looking me up online, I can just tell you that I'm currently the chair of teacher education at Fort Hays State University in Hays, Kansas, and my background is teacher preparation, and so I've always been interested in leadership. I do think those of us in teacher education that have been in the classroom, there are some things that are maybe baked into preparation that help us with leadership, but nonetheless, I am very committed to helping you as a department chair or any type of educational leader become better at what you do, because, hey, it's a tough job. So the title here of the first podcast is Why Become a Department Chair? Look, here's what we know. One of the hardest leadership jobs on a college campus is serving as a chair. And at the same time, it can be one of the most rewarding. Some stats here, or some things that we know from the research. Chairing a department is probably one of the most important, least appreciated, and toughest administrative positions in higher education. The skills required to be an effective chair are distinctly different from those required to be a successful tenured faculty member. But most of us received little to no training before starting the job. 80% of university decisions are made at the department level. So let's get started here on what does it mean to be a department chair? Where do department chairs come from, and how can we navigate our backgrounds, being prepared and groomed, if you will, to be successful scholars and teachers and tenure track folks? And then how do we make that transition to the department chair? So again, I want this to be helpful to people in higher education, but I think as we move on throughout these episodes, we're going to learn from people in organizations elsewhere. Because, hey, if you're a leader, you're in the people business, and people are people, and people can be messy, and guess what? We are all people too. So let's kind of dig into this. Why become a department chair? Where do department chairs come from? Well, first of all, I think it's safe to say that sometimes department chairs usually will come from faculty ranks, be it on campus or as an external. Personally, I was hired as an external chair, so I did not serve a faculty role in my current institution, although I was a promoted and tenured faculty member at another institution. But it's also not too uncommon for chairs to come from the campus internal. Some places have rotating chairs where you're assigned a certain amount of time and it can be renewed. And then other chairs, such as my position, is a permanent 12-month appointment. There are pros and cons to each, which we can get into maybe in a later episode. But today, I really wanted to focus on where do department chairs come from? Well, we know that whether you are external or are promoted from within, you come from higher ed, and you have most likely been promoted and tenured, which I think is in an ideal world the best thing for chairs, but I know sometimes it's not practical. But nonetheless, you are familiar with the tenure track. And what does that mean? Well, we all know that when we get into this thing called higher education and being on the tenure track, depending upon the profile of the institution we are at, some are more focused on research, some have a different, more balanced approach to teaching, research, and service. But nonetheless, I think we can all agree we are accustomed to almost being under a microscope for the first 6 or 7 years, because we have to make sure that we are meeting or exceeding expectations as scholars, as teachers, and then through service. And so in many ways, what I found over the years, both in my experience and then the opportunities I've had to lead and mentor others and then maybe do some training and presenting at other colleges, is that we really, by default, have to get others to like us. And I don't mean that in a negative sense or in a way that's disingenuous. But let's be honest, what does it mean to be a productive scholar? Well, we have to get peers in our field to deem our research, our scholarly productivity, whatever that means for our department or our field. They have to deem it worthy. It has to get through. They're like the gatekeepers, right? We have to get through that. So we could say they have to like it. Teaching. And there's a whole discussion to be had on the value of teacher evaluations, depending upon how they're worded and whether or not students like the class. But at the end of the day, whatever the metric we use, they have to be favorable, i.e., people have to like our teaching. And then in the other category of service, and service can mean a lot of things, but it probably involves committee work, meeting with others in your unit, across campus, probably serving your profession at a state, regional, or national level. But in any event, it does mean that we have to be a professional and well-liked colleague. So we spend the first 5, 6, 7 years on the tenure track being very mindful of our scholarship, our teaching, our interactions with colleagues, because we do want people to like us. It's natural, right? We'd rather like people to like us than not. But it is somewhat required in some way, shape, or form in your promotion and tenure document that you need to excel in those areas. And so we just become acclimated to those areas. And then I'm going to tell you, friends, the first time that you have conflict, which it's going to happen every day. Conflict happens every day in the life of a leader, whether you want it to or not. And you go to, say, your direct report, your dean, maybe another chair, and you say, I don't know what happened. I have to deal with this conflict, and oh my gosh, they're not going to like me. And if you come to me with that, I'm going to say, hey, first thing you got to realize now that you are leading people is that you're not going to be liked. And it's a jolt to us because we just spent the last 5, 6, 7, maybe years, maybe a decade trying to be liked. And I'm telling you, that's no longer the case. One of the things you're going to hear me say a lot throughout this podcast is leadership's a people business. Leadership is people are messy. We're a people. I know that's not great grammar, but I think you get the point. And in order to go up, you have to give up. Nobody forced you, hopefully, to be a department chair or even an assistant chair or an assistant dean or a dean. You made that decision, and you have to be willing to give some things up to go up. So let's look at why lead. This is we know that department chairs come from faculty ranks, but why do it? Well, I think it's important to first start off by looking at why should you not become a department chair. I call it the foolish four. First one, no one else wanted the job. Okay, I know there are people listening that to some extent maybe when it was 4:59 p.m. on a Friday during finals week, the last thing in your mind or your goals in the future, the last thing was to become a department chair. But the phone call came, the dean came to your door, whatever, and something happened, and guess what? We now need a department chair to step in this summer or be ready to go by the fall semester, and it's you. Now, let's be honest. Maybe it was because you were the only one still in your office at 4:59. Maybe you were the first one to reply to the email. I don't know. But two things. It's not bad to take a job as a leader in any organization that has been less than stable if you're prepared and do it for the right reasons. But if the only reason you are wanting to become a chair or took the job is because no one else wanted it, including you, then that's why I call it one of the foolish four. Okay, all is not lost. We can still work through that, and I think the things that we're gonna talk about and the guests that we have on this podcast are going to help you through that. But I just want you to take some time to reflect right now. If you are in the job or about to start the job and you really don't want it, but no one else wanted it, listen, getting into leadership is not a game of musical chairs. Okay? It's not, well, the music stopped. I was the only one that couldn't find a chair, so I guess it's me. No, that is not right. Now, if that's you and you were just thrown in that, hey, I want to come alongside you and help you. And I think leadership is like anything else. It's part art and it's part skill. There are some people, some humans that are born with just an innate ability. Their areas of gifting, their areas of intuition probably lend themselves more to being a leader than others. But we can also learn to improve our skill set. Hey, it's no different than what I do. I prepare future teachers, and people ask me, is teaching an art or a skill, a science? I say a little bit of both. Some people, yeah, they were just born to be natural teachers. But yes, we could also take somebody that wants to be a teacher, that has the right mindset, that wants to serve, and we can also help them be just as effective. But the first reason not to be a leader is because no one else wanted it, including you. Number 2, power and control. My friends, you need to learn something that you probably have learned. Power and control in many ways are just an illusion. Okay? You really can't force another human being to do anything in this world. Certainly, if you want to respect their space and not physically harm them. And I know that might sound a little foolish, but let's be honest here. We influence others through actions, through words. And if you're just becoming a chair or any type of leader because you think that, I need the power, I want to control others, look in the mirror or get out your phone and take a selfie, because the extent to which we have power and control over ourselves is going to be a great indicator if we're getting into this for the right reasons. Don't get in this to control people. Don't get in this to have, to make up for some unresolved trauma that deals with a power struggle. It's not going to be worth it. You are leading some very, very smart individuals, and they're going to see through it. So number two, don't become a leader, certainly a department chair, because you just want to have some sense of power and control. Hey, with leadership, everyone wants to be, few want to do. Remember that. Most people would take the nice office. Most people would take the pay raise and the ability to say, "Hey, look at me. I have this role." But when it gets difficult, that's that's when people realize that leadership's a verb and you earn your money on the hard days. Speaking of money, the third reason to not become a chair or any leader is the money. I'm not saying money isn't important, and I'm not saying that if you're doing it for the right reasons, the assumed increase in salary isn't a bonus, because it is. And I've often said the only thing more expensive than a good leader is a bad one. However, if the only reason you're doing this is, this would be great to get the pay raise, I don't know that I necessarily want to deal with the problems. I want the title. I'll feel in control. The money, if you if you wouldn't do the job without the money, you're not going to do it the right way with the money. Because ultimately, and this is true in any job, but I'm going to tell you it is 100% true in leadership. We earn our money on the bad days. We earn our money in private when we're dealing with things that others neither want to nor should they have to do. I don't care who it is. It could be a college president. It could be a professional coach. Some of these positions where I can't believe they make that much. Well, you know what? Follow them around on their tough days. Follow them around on their tough days. See what they do. I think then you're going to say, yeah, they earn it. Because you're going to have people that say, you couldn't pay me enough to do what you do, when they see some of the hard things. And it's probably true. But at the same time, don't just become a leader because of the pay raise. You have to be all in for the right personal reasons, and the money is just a bonus. Finally, just to recap, foolish 4, don't be a leader, don't be a chair because no one else wanted it, including you. Don't just pursue it because you think you want some power and control. Don't do it only for the money. And then finally, friends, do not take a leadership job out of a sense of entitlement. Here's what I mean specifically in higher education. Let's take somebody that's been a wonderful researcher, a wonderful teacher, all of the things. But maybe in the back of their mind, they've been on staff 10 years, 20 years, and they may not really want to do the tough stuff, but in their mind, I'm entitled. I've been here so long, I'm due. Here's what I say. You better be willing to pay your dues before just simply saying you're due. Okay? None of us. There are very few things in life we're entitled to, but certainly as leaders of organizations, none of us are just simply entitled to be a leader, to change our title, because we think that because I've done one job for so long, that naturally I'm entitled to the perks. Unless you're willing to do it for the things that most people don't want to do, don't think that, I'm entitled, I'm due. So, first goal here, friends, on our podcast, and you'll get to know more about me and some of the things I've done, but and many of the things that I talk about are in my book called The Department Chair, A Practical Guide to Effective Leadership. But the first thing I wanted to touch on today in this initial episode is why become a chair? Well, the first thing really is the 4 reasons not to, because I have seen that those are very common. And I'm not saying if any of those 4 were your reasons that you're unfit to lead, that you're a bad person. No, it just means you're human. And a lot of life is, we don't know something until we're told. That's why some of our true friends and some of your best mentors are the ones that are gonna be honest with you and say, I care too much to not mention this. So friends, in our first episode, why should you not lead? Is because you don't want to just take it because no one wanted it, including you. You don't want to take it because I think I want power and control others. You don't want to be a chair just because, I could use the pay raise. And then finally, do not go into this leadership role because you think you're entitled. We have to give up to go up. And the life and the skill set of a chair is so much different than what made us successful faculty members. Yes, all of those things are necessary, but in and of themselves, they're not sufficient for leadership. Because I truly believe the purpose of this podcast, improve organizations and the people you serve, especially students, by improving leaders one at a time. And hey, just to leave you here with a little bit about myself, one of the leaders, or one of the authors that I read is Simon Sinek. If you haven't looked him up, do. My hunch is you've heard of him. And he talks about establishing our why. But then he goes a bit further and he says, we all have a just cause. And a just cause is that thing that is so great that we may never live to see it come to fruition, but it's so great that we want to live every day in pursuit of it. And I'm going to share with you that my just cause is to create and contribute to a world in which people are empowered to reach their potential and live better lives because they have better leaders. No, our fulfillment isn't 100% tied up in our profession. It shouldn't be. But the reality is we spend a good part of our waking hours engaged in work. And if we're engaged in work, I can promise you that the extent to which we feel valued, seen, and heard, the extent to which that we have that, what Daniel Pink talks about, mastery, purpose, and autonomy, is tied to our leaders. And I know I've put a for sale sign in my yard and packed a U-Haul because of bad leaders, and I bet a lot of you listening have too. And so I am passionate about this. And my just cause is to ultimately contribute to people's lives and their happiness by putting better leaders in front of them. And friends, it starts with making sure people understand what leadership is and that they're getting into it for the right reasons. So I hope in this first inaugural podcast that to some extent I've given you some insight into what we're going to talk about moving forward. If you're a new chair, thinking about being a chair, the Foolish Four is maybe giving you some things to go on. And I certainly look forward to this journey that we're going to take together. So thank you. Thank you for joining me on the Department Chair Leadership Podcast. I wish you well, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Department Chair Leadership Podcast. If you want to learn more about my leadership philosophy and how to be an effective chair, please consider my book, The Department Chair, A Practical Guide to Effective Leadership. You can find this and learn more about me by going to cjleadership.com. Also, please be sure to like this podcast, leave a review, and share with your colleagues. Thanks again for improving your organization and those you serve by improving yourself. Take care.